Welcome, thrill seekers and history buffs. Tonight, we're going deep into one of the most audacious, mind-boggling heists in human history. Picture this, a dictator on the edge of losing everything and his last-ditch attempt to secure a future by stealing nearly $1 billion from his own central bank. Yes, you guessed it. Tonight's story is about Saddam Hussein, a man who didn't just rule Iraq with an iron fist, but also pulled off the biggest bank robbery in history. Buckle up, because this story has everything: power, greed, betrayal, and a whole lot of cash. Let's set the scene. It's March 2003, and Baghdad is on the brink of chaos. The US invasion is imminent. Saddam's regime is crumbling, and the streets are filled with tension. Now, when most people are planning their escape routes, Saddam decides to plan something else: a withdrawal. But not just any withdrawal, mind you. A withdrawal of $1 billion from the Central Bank of Iraq. And what does he do? He writes a note. Yes, a handwritten note, instructing the bank to hand over the cash. Imagine that. You hand over your debit card at the ATM, and Saddam hands over a note for $1 billion. I guess that's one way to avoid overdraft fees. The note, signed by Saddam himself, was presented to the bank's governor by his son, Saddam Hussein. It was as if he was just making a regular withdrawal, except this wasn't just any transaction. It was the biggest cash withdrawal in history. Qusay was reportedly seen driving away with truckloads, yes, truckloads of money. Imagine backing up a truck to the bank and filling it with pallets of cash. This is the stuff of legends, folks, or maybe just a really intense grocery run. But here's where it gets even crazier. Fast forward a few weeks, the US troops have entered Baghdad, and they're searching Saddam's palaces. What do they find? About $650 million stashed away in walls, closets, you name it. The kicker: over $350 million is still unaccounted for. It's like one of those mystery shows where the treasure is hidden and the map is missing. Except the treasure is cold, hard cash, and the guy who hid it was one of the most notorious dictators in history. But this isn't just a story about Saddam. This heist is part of a much bigger tale: the world's most unbelievable, daring, and sometimes downright bizarre bank robberies. We're talking about everything from Brazilian tunnel diggers to the legendary vault breach at the Bank of America. But what makes Saddam's heist stand out? The sheer audacity. I mean, who else walks into a bank and says, "I'll take all of it, please"? Let's take a quick detour into some other insane heists that make even Hollywood's biggest blockbusters look like child's play. Remember the Banco Central heist in Brazil? Thieves dug a tunnel under the bank, and over 3 months, they managed to steal nearly $70 million without a single alarm going off. Or how about the Brinks Mat robbery in London? £26 million in gold bullion, diamonds, and cash, enough to make any criminal mastermind drool. And let's not forget the United California bank burglary in 1972, where a group of thieves broke into a bank's vault in Laguna Niguel, stealing $9 million. Each of these heists has its own flavor of genius and madness, but Saddam's? It's in a league of its own. So why did Saddam do it? Why go through the trouble of pulling off this gigantic heist when he was already the leader of a nation? Well, it's simple. He knew the end was near, and like any dictator worth his salt, he wanted to ensure he had a golden parachute, or in this case, a cash-stuffed one. But the best-laid plans of mice and men often go awry. Saddam's billion-dollar heist didn't secure his future. It just became another chapter in his downfall. And while we might chuckle at the sheer boldness of it all, there's a darker side to this story. This money, meant for the Iraqi people, was taken by a regime that ruled through fear and brutality. It's a stark reminder of how absolute power corrupts absolutely, and how in the end, not even $1 billion could save Saddam from his fate. So, where did the remaining $350 million go? Some say it was lost in the chaos. Others think it was hidden in secret locations across Iraq or funneled out to foreign banks. But the truth, it might never be known. Just like the other mysteries surrounding Saddam's regime, it's one of those stories that's likely to remain unsolved. A dark legend that keeps us guessing. And there you have it. A tale of greed, power, and a heist so epic, it's hard to believe it actually happened. From Saddam's billion-dollar bank job to the other infamous heists that have captivated us for years, these stories remind us of the thin line between genius and madness. If you enjoyed this deep dive into the world of high-stakes theft, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe, and share this video with your fellow crime aficionados. After all, while crime may not pay, it sure makes for one heck of a story. Until next time, keep your money close and your secrets closer. You know, if Saddam had just invested that money in some solid stocks instead of hiding it in his palace walls, maybe we'd be telling a very different story today. Just a thought.